Sandy Says Read. Welcome to the channel. You guys, tonight we are going to do something a little different, which, we should probably expect from this channel now, right? We're going to do something a little different. This is going to be a discussion about a writing topic. The writing topic is to prologue or not to prologue. Yeah, I know. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of my experiences, things I have learned, things I have had actual conversations about with people in the publishing industry, okay? This is not just Sandy's opinion, although some of it will be. I'll let you know when it's my opinion, but we're going to talk about things that I know something about because I'm sharing this information with you. I'm sharing. Before I share, let me say, this video is brought to you by SandySaysRead, which is a merch shop that I have. Here is a water bottle. Excitement! This is one of the water bottles that is not available on my merch shop. You know why? Because you can't read it very well, right? But I dig it. The Nigel and Charisse logo is available on items in my merch shop, just not this specific water bottle because it's just difficult to read, even though it's just really freaking cool and I like it. So I use it. But when I ordered it to test it and see what it would look like, it just didn't come back nice. It's difficult to read. So I changed it up on the shop. There are all kinds of things on the shop that are easy to read and help you proclaim your reading comprehension skills. There you go. So if you need Christmas gifts, if you need birthday gifts for the future, any kind of gift you need, you can find something you would like or a friend would like at Sandy Says Read. I will put the link to that in the drop-down box below. And now the commercial is over. So let's talk about this weird thing in the publishing industry called the prologue and why people get so worked up about it. Seriously. I mean, I'm telling you, I have been in Twitter threads and Facebook. Well, not Facebook anymore because I've yeeted that from my life and my mental health has improved. But different social media platforms where people talk about prologues, epilogues, all the things that you put in books. People talk about these things. And when I mention, hey, just make sure your agent that you're pitching to wants a prologue, will tolerate a prologue, won't make you yeet the prologue, the clapback is insane. It just turns into a discussion of, well, I think prologues are great. And yes, and I agree with you. I think prologues are great too. I do. But I'm telling you with this video, I am telling you when I talk to you out there online, it has been my experience that there are literary agents, there are editors, there are reviewers, there are professionals in the industry who do not like prologues. They are so very opposed to prologues that if they see one at the front of your book, they will put your book down. They will put your manuscript down. They will yeet it to the delete box. They will recycle it and say no. They will reject you. They will give you a bad review. That things will happen that are not positive and great. I'm just saying. In the event that you wish to submit your manuscript to a literary agent or an editor, it would behoove you to check with that literary agent's website, list of comps, whatever. Check and see, does that literary agent typically produce books, represent books that include prologues? If they don't, you might want to change the front matter of your book. I'm just saying. Here's another thing. If your goal is not to have a literary agent represent you, if your goal is not publishing with one of the big five, having that kind of traditional publishing, then don't worry about it. I mean, geez, there are plenty of readers out there in the world. There are plenty of indie publishing houses out there in the world who don't give a flip, who will look at a book and if it's got a prologue in the front, be like, okay, let's see if this fits. Great. There are plenty of other ways to get your book out there into the world besides the big five or besides literary agent A and literary agent B, both of whom yeet the thing because it's got a prologue in it. Okay? So know what your why is. Know what your goal is. Know what your why. What is your why? Why are you writing? Why are you submitting your manuscript to literary agent XYZ? Why are you preparing this book? And why are you putting a prologue at the front of it? Why? Know your why so that you can work accordingly. I'm rambling. Okay, so let's get back on script because I've got notes here. Okay, maybe we'll put that as all the intro. Yeah, and we'll put a timestamp on this for the beginning of the video now. All right, to prologue or not, we're going to use my experiences. I've got this written down here. We're going to use my experiences in publishing as our examples so that this is going to be in the up and up, okay? For example, several years ago, I submitted one of my books, published, to Writer's Digest magazine, one of their contests that they do. You have to pay money for that. You pay some money, you send in your book, they have a judge or two, whatever the number of judges is, read the thing. And you get commentary back. Whether or not you place, whether or not you get any reward out of it, you will get comments back. And the comments back is what I was looking for. Because I'm not an idiot. I know I'm not going to place in a Writer's Digest contest. Gee whiz, look at me. I'm a nobody from nowhere, right? That's not going to happen for me. But they will give you commentary. They will write something down. You are guaranteed some written information from a professional in the industry. And that's what I was after. And that's what I got. It's a little bit weird. So we're going to talk about it. I sent in May Your Heart Be Light. This is the one. This is my wacky paranormal romance vampire satire Christmas novel. It has in the front a prelude. I don't call it a prologue because it's not a prologue. I call it a prelude. All right, so I'm going to read you. It's very short. I swear, it's very short. So let me read this for you. Prelude. When the moment of truth came, it fell like the first snow of December, sparse and uncertain and light. There she stood beneath the cliché clump of mistletoe with the man she had alternately feared and adored since her arrival. Jennifer felt his arms encompass her, his strong and solid body holding her in full embrace. She heard his whisper, "Be not afraid," in her mind. The most captivating eyes she'd ever beheld caught her in their gaze, and he smiled that unnerving smile she had first seen weeks ago when he'd bumped into her in the chateau's foyer. This time she saw the minute flash of vampire fangs as he leaned toward her. And that's it. Now, that's not a prologue per se. That's not a prologue. Okay, that's not giving you like a scene of action and like background. That's not giving you backdrop. That's not giving you like something that happened 10 years ago to set the stage for what's to come. That's just a little prelude. That's like a droplet of something from the story. Okay, prelude. Well, okay, so I sent this in to the Writer's Digest contest. They came back to me. The judge did say some nice things. I mean, I no longer have the information that the judge wrote. I remember some of it. Here we go. The judge did say nice things about the characters and the way the characters interacted. Everybody says nice things about the way the characters interact because Caleb and Jenna are just, they're like magic. Anyway, so they said nice things. The judge said nice things about the characters and then spent like the rest of the paragraph, information, and I don't want to call it a review, but spent the rest of the discussion, basically, the rest of the comments complaining about the fact that a prologue existed at the front of this book. Well, it's not really a prologue, but go on. And so the judge basically was complaining about the fact that there was a prologue here. And I remember the comments talked about, what a prologue entails and that the prologue was something that judge never wanted to see in a book again. Okay. So I took that to heart and I'm like, okay, so next time I submit something to Writer's Digest, it better not have a prologue in it. Of course, I did submit something later that did have a prologue. And it was an actual prologue. And I got really nice comments on that. Anyway, okay, so my point is I have kept an eye on this prologue discussion ever since. I mean, that was new to me. That was a new concept that, gee whiz, people in industry don't want a prologue. That's news. That was news to me then. So I kept an eye out for it. For example, when I started this channel, I took out a subscription to a box service called Scribbler. I don't know if they still do those. It was like $30 a month. I can't afford that now, but at the time, it was like $30 a month, and you would get this box in the mail that would include a book, whatever the book of the month was, and like bookmarks and stickers and little pamphlets about, writing is great, and some little tip of the month about writing. And it would have an invitation. And that invitation was to be part of like a Zoom call, a Teams meeting type thing about some part of the book writing or editing process. And I sat in on a couple of those calls. I got the invitation, like, score. So I sat in on a couple of those. And each time that the topic of prologues came up, the discussion was divided. Sometimes the editors were like, oh, yeet that thing. So back then they didn't use the term yeet, but it was, no, just cut it. Don't use a prologue. Don't have it in there. It's just a flat no. And sometimes the editors were like, well, if you have to have it, then include it, but try to avoid it. Basically, it was just always a negative unless you really had to have one. This is what I was seeing. Let's see, agent reads or agent, what's the word I'm looking for? Opportunities to read, through Writer's Digest or Scribbler, or, there was another, Readsy, or there was another one. I'm drawing a blank. I should have written that down. Anyway, there are different writing communities, writing services that will let you pay them money to have access to a literary agent for, an hour or 2 hours via Zoom. You send in something, the agent reads it, their first 10 pages, right? And the agent reads it and gives you some commentary. And then you can have access to that agent for a Zoom call or whatever. A bunch of people sit there and talk to this agent and send in your questions ahead of time or whatever. And, the question of a prologue comes up, the questions of the epilogue comes up. And so I'm always paying attention. I'm always watching to see, okay, is this thing accepted in the industry yet? And it's really not yet. I mean, here we are at 2023, and I'm not seeing, across the board where there's a positive feeling for them yet. It's like people are still not liking them, still not digging them. But look at what readers want. That's my why. I'm not looking for a literary agent now. I gave up on that a long time ago. I gave up. I'm looking for, what does my reader want? What are the readers looking for out there? I'm kind of polling the readers. When I'm online now and I'm looking at these conversations that crop up, I look to see what the readers are looking for, and reviewers, okay, what are they thinking about prologues and epilogues and an appendix and all that extra front matter and back matter of the books? What are they interested in? And depending on the age group of the group I'm looking at, they tend to be okay with a prologue and an epilogue and the appendix, and they want to see a map in the fantasy books. They want to see, a character list. They want to see descriptions and information. They want the extra stuff. They want that. So I'm down with it. So let's talk a little bit here. Do you need the prologue? Okay, whether your reader is okay with it, whether the potential literary agent is okay with it or not, do you need it? Does it need to be there? I have an example for us to look at here in Jurassic Park. Now, I don't believe I'm allowed, copyright-wise, to read the entire prologue for you. And I don't know if you all want me to, but in the beginning of Jurassic Park, there is an introduction that is just dry as dirt, right? It's the information about InGen and talking about, well, here, the late 20th century has witnessed a scientific gold rush of astonishing proportions, the headlong and furious haste to commercialize genetic engineering, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's what the introduction is like. But then we get to the prologue. And the prologue is the bite of the raptor. That's already intriguing, right? And so here we go. We have Roberta Carter, Dr. Carter. She is in her this village, this fishing village that's near Costa Rica, right? And let's see. Oh, it's on the west coast of Costa Rica. Sorry, pardon me. It's near the famous island, okay, where the dinosaurs are. But she doesn't know that yet, and the reader doesn't know that yet either, okay? So let's see. She is in the emergency room. She's with one of her paramedics, Manuel Aragon, and they're listening to the rain, and he says, "Listen." "Believe me, I hear it," Bobby said. "No, listen." And then she caught it. Another sound blended with the rain, a deeper rumble that built and emerged until it was clear, the rhythmic thumping of a helicopter. She thought, they can't be flying in weather like this. Okay, so this big helicopter lands, and it's from InGen, the construction company on the island nearby, right? She's aware of it, and she talks about that. They're calling for a doctor. So she says, "I'm Dr. Carter," she said. The rain fell in heavy drops, pounding her head and shoulders. The red-haired man frowned at her. She was wearing cut-off jeans and a tank top. She had a stethoscope over her shoulder, the bell already rusted from the salt air. "Ed Regis, we've got a very sick man here, doctor." "Then you better take him to San Jose," she said. San Jose was the capital, just 20 minutes away by air. "We would, but we can't get over the mountains in this weather. You have to treat him here." Bobby trotted alongside the injured man as they carried him to the clinic. He was a kid, no older than 18. Lifting away the blood-soaked shirt, she saw a big, slashing rip along his shoulder and another on the leg. "What happened to him?" "Construction accident," Ed shouted. "He fell. One of the backhoes ran him over." The kid was pale, shivering, unconscious. Manuel stood by the bright green door of the clinic, waving his arm. The men brought the body through and set it on the table in the center of the room. Manuel started an intravenous line, and Bobby swung the light over the kid and bent to examine the wounds. Immediately, she could see that it did not look good. The kid would almost certainly die. Okay, now the prologue goes on, and we get to see from her point of view that this kid has been mauled. Something has mauled this child. This child's 18-year-old. Okay, and it goes on for several pages, but this is a well-done prologue. But was it necessary to be a prologue? Because, the very first chapter is also exciting. We go from one exciting moment to the next exciting moment. Did it have to be a prologue to the story? I don't know. You guys can talk to me about it in the comments below. Tell me what you think. Because obviously this book is different from the movie, okay? Don't think that this is following the movie, because it's not. But we have this kid who's, he's messed up. And then we get to the first paragraph in the first paragraph, the first chapter. The first chapter is the family that goes to the beach, and the little girl is getting attacked by these little baby dinosaurs, right? It's action, it's adventure, it's packed. But neither one of these has our main character. Neither one of these is, either one of these could be chapter 1. So why did it have to be a prologue? Did it need a prologue? Tell me your thoughts of that in the drop-down box below. Okay. Then I wanted to say, let's see, what's next on my list? Oh, okay, so my next example is of a prologue that I think had to be a prologue. I don't believe that this one could have been chapter 1. This is in the Magik Scarf, and I have just done a review for this one here for the channel. This is a young adult novel, and our main character is not in the prologue. In the prologue, we have the grandfather character. So we have, let's see, I don't want to trounce on her copyright, so let me start down a few paragraphs here. Let's see. The wizards joined together to discuss what to do with Pappy O. "He's a rube," Krunus the Blue announced, brushing dust from his long robe. Krunus was an important figure at the keep for his knowledge about star formations and how to follow them. completely untried. Crew, don't be unkind, Predolf begged. Predolf, an elixir sorceress and potions master, tried to keep the peace. It isn't his fault he's untried, he's just young. So they're talking about Papillot. They've brought him into this Knowledge Mountain Hall, and they're deciding what to do with him and how to help him. And that's what the prologue is about, is how to assist Papillot and how he is going to fit into society in the world of the Daygrease world. That I don't believe it would have worked as chapter 1, because keep in mind, your reader is going to imprint on the first character you show them like a baby bird, okay? Papillot is not our main character. I mean, he becomes like a guide to our main character, but he's not the main character. He's not the one who drives the story. He's not the one we root for and get behind. We get behind the 16-year-old, the one who makes this a young adult novel, not the grandfather character. Does that make sense? So I don't believe that one would have worked as a first chapter. So it needed to be the prologue. It needed to be the one that set the stage, in my opinion. Oops, sorry guys. In my opinion. All right. So I think what I'm trying to tell you is, if you feel that your story needs to have a prologue, if your goal is to just tell your story and reach readers, and you don't care about what the literary agents are after and extra editors are after, if your goal is just to tell a story the best way you can tell it, and you want to have a prologue and you need to have a prologue, then for Pete's sake, put a freaking prologue in it. It's your story. It's your manuscript. You're the one telling it. It's your baby. Write it. Write it. But if your why is to attract an agent who can attract an editor who can sell the story to a publishing house, then you probably need to do some investigating on those agents and those editors and decide, okay, if they don't want that prologue, then do you need it? Can you turn it into your first chapter? Can you work the elements into chapters 1, 2, 3, or 4? Can you weave it in there? Do you have to have it? That might be all. I might be done rambling at you guys about this now. But I'm trying to tell you, the thing is that, when I'm online, when I see these discussions come up, I've kind of shied away now from even offering any input. I've stopped trying to help people in these particular discussions, because all I get is, flaming. It's, well, what do you know about it? I like prologues. Well, yeah, I like them too. But if you're after an agent, your agent might not. Just do your research. Do your research. You gotta do your research. Make sure. But yeah, I think that's it. I have seen there is a trend now with writers who are writing in series to use something that's not necessarily a prologue, but like I hesitate to call it an info dump, but it's a section, an appendix that they put at the front, but an appendix that's like the events so far. Like if you've got a series, there's like 5 books in your series and you're on book 5. Well, the first 4, you kind of sum up what's been happening in the first 4 books. Because if you're like me and you're ancient and you forget things when you sleep, then you might need that refresher, that summary to kind of wrap things up tidily for the reader. Again, it's for the reader, right? I mean, who cares what the literary agent wants? Do it for your reader. Do it for yourself. Thumbs up for prologues, because, they don't suck. You guys, please follow along. Subscribe to the channel. Please click the bell notification icon so that you're notified each time I do these random things. Full of advice here. Yeah. Thanks so much for tuning in, you guys.